This is such a wonderful, wonderful occasion for me. And not only because I know so many people here who have come, but because you realize the friendship and the permanence of good things that happen to you when you involve yourself. And a lot of you know that because you're all many volunteers here today. But it all comes back in abundance. And I feel that way. I'm very overcome. I'm overcome for a lot of reasons. And as I go along, I will tell you. You mentioned a wonderful introduction of me. But just to put things in place, let me tell you another introduction I had. When I was First Lady, a little 5-year-old, Emily, who is now in Columbia Law School, said, "Grandma, would you come and meet my teacher? She wants to meet all the grandmothers." I said, "All right." So I made time. I go down, and she takes me, I go to the school, she takes me by the hand, and she goes up to her teacher, and she says, "My grandfather is the governor, and my grandmother is the governess." Puts you in your place, brings things to reality. So this champion of children, to me, is very touching. Because yes, I have 5 children, as you had. And maybe others have had 5 children or more. But you know, in life, it's true, as you raise them, you just never know what's going to happen. You pray, you hope that all the good things you're trying to teach them will come to bear fruit, and they'll be good people, and loving people, and with faith, hope, and charity. Corinthians 3:13, I think it is. That's what I've always believed in. So, yes, I am very fortunate. My children are very fortunate. They're healthy, wise, and good, and loving. I also want to thank the wonderful women who came up telling their stories. They were very, very brave and self-confident and wonderful, wonderful, only showing that the good work you do for them really counts, and they expressed that so beautifully. And they overcame so many obstacles that makes us all inspired by them. My goodness. I know I had tribulations, but nothing like that. Your foundation is interesting. When it started in 1983, at the same time, I began working with all the New York State commissioners. And I must tell you, it was something that I figured I'd better do because I had little Christopher, he was just turning 12. And I convinced Madeline to go to SUNY Albany because she had 2 scholarships to do different colleges. But I said, just do me a favor, watch your brother when I'm not here. I never had a nanny, by the way. Those were not nanny times when I raised the kids. But it worked out beautifully because I was always home for, well, I was breakfast, of course, but also dinner, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I was going around telling mothers to be home with their children and to feed their children and be there. So I was there. And he has, believe me, he would tell it the way it is, because Christopher is that way. So thank God I did what I did when I did. So I had the privilege. It was such a privilege. It was, you know, I tried to tell Silda Spitzer and Mrs. Patterson, to be First Lady of a great state like this doesn't happen often. And to have the privilege, as I say, and the opportunity to do it. And it's true because actually my husband was so active. You know, we didn't see him all the time when we wanted to because he was so busy. But the fact is that he did things that gave us such inspiration and joy, because we knew how many people, far-reaching into the whole great state, were going to do better. The Child Health Plus, which became a national model, as you well know, I guess. Immunization of infants, home visiting, educating our youth against drugs and teenage pregnancy. And finding permanent homes for children who languish in foster care. This was very troublesome. Today, I believe we have over 40,000 children in foster care in New York State. And to name a few, you know, this was part of the decade of the child that blossomed And it was an initiative that is once in a lifetime, folks, because it took a lot of planning, a lot of good people, and all of the agencies involved. Kevin Lyden knows well. We worked like Trojans with that because we believed in it. And all of the, I'll just summarize it quickly to tell you that all of the accomplishments of the great administration that he had are in a book that he did before leaving office, and it's called The New York Idea, an Experiment in Democracy. And I must tell you, it's being used for political science study and government work in NYU, Baruch, and many colleges and universities, that book. So that can be had. The book you have, you don't have today, because, not my fault. I wasn't told, but I brought 5, and I will dedicate them to some people, but you will all get a book. They will be shipped here, the second edition. We don't have many left of the first. The second edition, I have enough. 150 books will be coming. They're the end of the second edition. The third edition is coming. That one you have to buy, because that sustains my program. In 1985, it was very interesting. My husband, one morning, shaving, said, "That's it." He says, "You have to help me with something." I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "The huge statistics of children dropping out of school. You wouldn't believe it." He said it was like almost foreign to he and I, because our kids, thank God, like school. And, there was never any thoughts of my friends' children dropping out of school in Queens County. Maybe it was in the air, I don't know. But it was a wonderful thing that they loved school, loved education. And they liked their teachers very much. So he said to me, you have to do something. And what I want you to do, I said, well, give me an idea. He said, look, put together a bipartisan committee of Republicans, Democrats, Independents. What's the difference? Just get the best to come to a committee and start to think about what can we do to stop schools, dropping out of school, kids dropping out of school, and helping the schools too, because they didn't know how to get it about it. And I did that, and I said, but it has to be bipartisan? Can't it be just Democrats? I know more Democrats than I know Republicans right now. I'll get to know more Republicans, but I wasn't very political at the time either. So he said, no, it's got to be bipartisan. And when he says something, you've got to do that. So I worked very hard. Reuben Marks of Colgate-Palmolive, who I don't know well, I went to see him. I said, would you like to be on the committee? He said, not I, but my wife, Arlene. I said, wonderful. She's a nutritionist. And, I got somebody from every scope of life world for a child to grow up well. So here's this bipartisan committee. And I'll tell you in a little while what happened. I said, okay, and I did it. We did it. We came up with the solution of the New York State Mentoring Program. And folks, I still have the pin, the original pin. I wear it because I like people to know there was a beginning, a middle, and an end to life and different things. And so with the program, this was the beginning. The New York State Mentoring Program, the first in the country, yes, school-based, one-to-one, because there was no one-to-one. Big sisters and big brothers had group mentoring, and these children do not survive and do well in those groups. They are very reticent to get up and speak their piece and how they feel. It had to be a one-to-one connection with these children, with the mentor. So what happens is, when I would go down to Washington, and First Lady Barbara Bush heard about the program, and she would grab me and say, go tell all the first ladies what you're doing in New York State. It's a great program. They have to learn to do that too. Just Kentucky came through. I didn't do very well. So I met Hillary, though, and she liked it very much. In fact, she has done the forward on all the 3 books and tells her story. I don't know how many of you were reading the story about her own mother, by the way, which even means more to me than ever of how accomplished this great woman is, Hillary Clinton, with the kind of mother that had to go through so much in parenthood. The New York State Mentoring Program, folks, reached 10,000 children one-to-one at its peak. Imagine. What a wonderful thing. And we did bring down, of course, the statistics. There should be no politics when it comes to helping children. I feel that way. I think a lot that Mayor Jennings and we all feel that way. Yes. That's the thing. I'm trying to get an apartment going, I'm not an apartment dweller. I always lived in a house, a small house, a little bigger house, but a house. But living in an apartment is a different experience. But I have a little balcony that looks at Queens County. And at night, the Pepsi-Cola sign lights up on Queens County, and I feel it's my Hong Kong. So I've become used to it. But I get a call right off as I'm starting to fix the house and thinking of rugs and this and that. And it's Andrew. I said, oh, hello, Andrew. He's calling me from Washington, the HUD. He was working with President Clinton. He said, Mom, he says, I have bad news and good news. Sit down, have a cup of tea. While I talk to you, I said, oh my God, I can imagine. I said, what happened? I thought it was one of the children. I was thinking the worst. He said, well, there's no more New York State mentoring program. He comes right out and tells me. I said, are you kidding me? I said, what is that? It was the bipartisan committee. He said, it's no more. They just cut it out. I said, wait till I tell your father. So much for bipartisan committees. Boy, what I went through. Oh, all right. I said, what's the good news, Andrew? He said, well, you have to remember that the health facilities that I started for the homeless, he said, I put Maria in charge now, his sister. And I knew that. I said, so that's a very good thing, because she's starting to do a good job already. And he said, well, you'll become affiliated with health. The kids in those health facilities where the mothers are working, many of them are single mothers, by the way, domestic violence, many different reasons. Why don't you mentor those children? They're part of your program. In other words, you bring those children in, because as it was, it would be the teachers and the principals who designate the children. I'm a teacher. I didn't want my hands on the schools. So it's not that kind of thing to do when you're a teacher. You let them handle it. So they would designate the children. So I said, well, that makes sense, taking care of the children of the parents or the parent in the facility. So I said, how am I going to do that, Andrew? I have nothing. I have nobody, no funds. What are you talking about? He said, well, I have it figured out. See, he's a doer. I said, now? I said, I'm in the apartment and, I don't think I have time for this. He said, no. He said, remember Junko? Remember Steve Minking? I called them. They're going to help you. That's 2 volunteers from the administration who had no jobs. I said, oh, okay. And he said, and you can get a room. We'll figure it out. Put you into the health facility in Brooklyn, which is the biggest facility. I says, oh, okay. You think so, a room? It was a basement room with no windows, stifling in the summer especially. I said, oh boy, this is something to bear. So anyway, we did. That's where we started. And he said, call it Mentoring USA. You're going to go national now. You were confined to New York State. Okay, so I listened to him, and that's what we did. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only national, it's international. Mentoring USA Italia. I love to go to figure out what they're doing. And then also they're in Spain and Morocco. And we just heard from, thanks to them. And now the Koreans heard about the program. There's a global problem with families with dysfunction that are not working well for the children. They have problems, a lot of problems with the children not becoming educated. So Stephen Powell, my executive director, just got back from Korea last week, and he was invited. I couldn't go, and he went and did a yeoman's job with them, and they're so convinced that they're going to come here. They want to know more about not only mentoring and helping the children stay in school and so forth, but also to see what other models and other industries they could bring back to, so I'll be calling you Mayor Jennings. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you something. You're fortunate that I'm standing here today, because I almost passed out at the bar there as I was talking to people. Do you know that someone came into my life who for 17, almost 18 years, I've been looking for her? She's my mentee, because I'm a mentor. I became a mentor right off with the New York State mentoring program because I wanted to see the kinks. And this little girl in the 4th grade who was having a problem because she didn't think she had to finish school. It would be just as well as she left school. And her mother was having a hard time with her. And she had 3 younger sisters who, if she did that, they were going to do that. So the teacher designated her to me. And she speaks Spanish. Now, I also can speak Spanish, but I speak Italian better now because I've been dealing with Italians a lot more. And it's funny, the languages are similar, but for some reason I've gravitated more to the Italian. So in any case, I took her through elementary school. In fact, because they're Catholic, I got them, they went to their communion. I got them indoctrinated. Sisters, you should love me for that because I did all that for the whole family. I went to their ceremony. I helped Paula, the mother, get a job with Catholic Charities. She did well. And then all of a sudden, I don't hear from her. Now she's in high school, Albany High School, and I don't hear from her. And then all of a sudden, I called her. I said, hey, Ellie, I went the first day for her for indoctrination and everything because Paula didn't want to go. And I went. And I put her in place, everything, because she's very bright. She had a great mathematical mind. I hate mathematics. I still hate it. And she was doing so well in that area. So I knew she had a future in that area. So I don't hear from her. So I said, Ellie, what are you doing? How are you? What's going? Oh, I didn't go to school this week. I said, what? Well, you're on vacation? What's going on? Isn't school on? And she said, well, she said, they make too much noise in that homeroom. And I don't like it, so I'm not going anymore. I said, they're making a lot of noise. I said, you know what? I'm coming into the school. we're going to meet, and I want to talk to your supervisor there. And I did. I said, you're barking up the wrong tree with this girl. This girl has a lot of talent. Don't keep her in this homeroom. Put her in some grade somewhere where she can be with children who are serious like she is, and she wants to do well. And she's got to go to school. That's the bottom line. So she did whatever she could, God bless her, and she put her into another homeroom, and she finished high school. She went to Hudson Valley Community College, and she's working at the oncology, let me get it straight, the New York Oncology and Hematology Service Center. She's doing very well. She has 2 children. Stand up, Ellie. She deserves it, the applause and the good wishes, because, you know, she worked hard, and I know she did. But the only thing is, for 18 years, I thought she was passed away or something. I didn't know what happened to her. Everybody was looking for her. Kevin, everybody. And I even gave her father's name, thinking maybe they were under Reyes instead of Delgado. And nobody found you. And I said, God, I've lost her. I just never expected to see her ever again. And she comes in today, and I never expected her. I almost passed out. It was just such a shock. Wait till I go home and tell my family. Because they love her, even those who don't really know her vicariously, they all love her, because the stories go on in the Cuomo family about Ellie Delgado. And where is she? I don't know. I haven't found her. But, you know, and it goes on, even my grandchildren are asking me. So she's got to now be incorporated again into the Cuomo clan, because it's just that way. Well, you know, when it comes to mentoring, a great, great man, Walter Cronkite, told me that no one does anything in their life on their own. There's always someone caring for you, a person who shapes your life and your career, whose influence stays with you for the rest of your life. And I hope in a way that I did that for Ellie, because she wanted to find me. She saw me in the newspaper, Benita. And you people have to know how important you are to the lives of all of us, because you really communicate things to the world, to the people, the folks. And if it wasn't for that, she wouldn't have been here today. So I don't know who would have found her. And she doesn't live that far. She's in Troy. I can't believe it. Well, okay. I just want to tell you that there is a mentor who Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, did give an award to in Washington, who was the National Volunteer Mentor Award to Richard Patelli of Bloomingdale's. I have 150 employees from Bloomingdale's. Across the country, Bloomingdale's are my mentors. And Richard Patelli had 3 boys in the same family who are mentor to them, and they're all going to college. And this Richard Patelli got the National Mentoring Award, which I am so proud to say is my program. And we're proud to have him. And he's still mentoring. He doesn't give up. National Mentoring Month, we will actually show the 3rd edition of the book, and there will be many more celebrities in it. I don't mean to be funny about it or comical, but President Clinton called me and said, "When am I going to be in your book?" "You're going into your 3rd edition." So he's in the 3rd edition. The program funded by the Maternity and Early Childhood Foundation, I tell you, the programs that you fund are fabulous because the evidence is clear. And what you do is so needed. And when you say it's God's work, it couldn't be done better by all of you. And I applaud all of the board members, because it isn't easy to come and when you have to go to a board meeting and you've got to be there and have your wits about you and so forth. So I applaud all of you. I think it's just wonderful what you're doing. I just read in the paper in the New York Times Saturday, I don't know how many of you saw it. I like to clip out my son's clippings. It's just a habit. It's just a habit. So I'm reading the papers more than ever. It takes me 2 hours. Anyway, so far so good. But it's coming. I say to Andrew, the honeymoon's over. It's called The Room of Her Own. It's about a foster care child, a young woman, 16. I don't know how many of you read it, but she was in foster care at 6 months. And she was right through the foster care system. It starts that she tried to commit suicide, but she failed. She lived, and she was disappointed that she lived. And they're trying to put her back in the good sense of her life, of being worthwhile, in a mental health program right now. I happen to be on a board of the Mental Health Foundation here in Albany. And so I'm going to recommend, Steve Medeiros is here. Are you still here, Steve? Oh, here you. Yeah, in fact, I called Judy Burgess, the executive director, and I didn't want to bother Steve. And little did I know you were going to be here. And we should try to fund the Brooklyn mental health program that this because if they're helping this young woman to get back her life, I think they must be worthwhile. That's why the courts remanded her to the mental health program in Brooklyn. Not because I'm from Brooklyn either, by the way. I always believe that there are 3 pillars of support for a child. This was my mantra while I was raising my children: the home, the school, the community. If one pillar is broken or dysfunctional, the child suffers, sometimes for a lifetime. Our motto, I recall, was always prevention is the key. Kevin remembers that well. And our trained mentors encourage our girls and boys in the Mentoring USA program to stay in school at all costs, with a goal to develop themselves with values, education, and preparation for the future, which is very important. Before a young woman has a child, she has the obligation to be fair to herself, respect yourself, then you respect others, and you develop well. You must do that first. In fact, I think it's a religious concept, too, that you have to take care of yourself first before you can help anyone else. And then you also have to Be fair to the child, because the child also needs a father. And you have to always recall in your mind, what were your first years like without a father, if you had no father? You know, if you're fortunate that the father is a good man and he's living and, you know, hasn't passed on, there's such an asset for a young girl, young boy to have both parents. There must be a family structure. Every child deserves a chance to grow in a safe, nurturing home and have the opportunity to reach to their full potential. And it's only from having both a mother and a father that a child learns and grows in many ways where it would be lacking without one or the other. I want to thank all of you, and I appreciate so much your support of what you're doing, because we're all better people for it. Because people have to understand the fact that there's like a ripple effect, that when a family isn't doing well, a child isn't doing well, we all pay for it, one way or another. And this is something that is so sad, when you can do things better. And that's what we should try. You should always, if I learned anything from Eleanor Roosevelt, who was always like a role model, a fixation in my head, and to get her award, it was only that, because she said it always, and she has many quotes, but this one was, if you can try, you must try. Don't ever give up. But also, the person who will say it can't be done, in that way you don't achieve anything. You must always try. I thank you again and again for this honor. I will never forget it. I can never forget today. I trust me on that. Thank you very, very much.